Win as one. EA Sports FIFA 21 sponsors Saturday Social.
We are going to focus heavily on the European Super League. And last night at the Emirates, there were massive protests before the game. Literally thousands of people showing up to the stadium to voice against Kroenke out. So yeah, James, let's chat about the European Super League then. Let's get your reaction when you first heard about it and your thoughts on it.
Well, look, I think the reaction that you're seeing there with those pictures kind of highlights just how sickening the whole thought of this Super League was from the start, and that was the kind of initial emotion and reaction I had. I was kind of a bit confused, and it's taken me a lot of sort of this maybe sounds a bit over the top, but a lot of soul searching this week into sort of how do I feel about this sport that I've spent my whole life kind of engrossed in. And why do I love it so much and all of those bits and pieces? And so right at the start of it, I just felt sick, to be honest, because it felt completely wrong from the start. And again, I go back to the amount of people that are there for that protest. Yeah. I think that highlights it itself. It doesn't matter who you support in this. I think at the core of it, it went against everything we all felt that we loved about sport, which is that it has to be about it being competitive, about you earning your right to any of your successes. And I think that's a big thing with sport itself. Sport mirrors society. And although it is just a game, a lot of the values and principles that are there because we engage and like those principles in our own lives. And so when I hit 100K, I've earned that. And, when Chunkz has got where he's got to, it's not because he's not just been given subscribers, he's earned it. Or, when he's working in the gym and he's knackered at the end of the day and he smiles to himself because he's that tired, the reason he's smiling is because he's earned it. So I think like the core of it for me that I got to was that you have to earn things in life. And this was just the complete opposite of that. It was there's a safety net for all of these clubs. It's disgraceful. Obviously, I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah, I love it. I love the passion. But
Sorry,
I think I totally agree. I think we'll probably all agree with it, to be totally honest with you. Yeah. Chunkz, you must have a very similar reaction to James there.
What James felt, yeah, honestly. No, I'm joking. You pretty much covered all grounds. Obviously, you know that the whole concept of this thing is for the rich to get richer. You know what I mean? So no one really cares much about the smaller teams, because how some of the teams got picked, I don't even know. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? But honestly, disgrace to football in general. The fact that was even brought up and tweeted out and you know what I mean, mentioned, and no one was even no one had a clue, because I was speaking to some of the footballers in the teams and they had no idea. They didn't know what was coming about. So that's why I was shocked. I was like, you guys must know something. They were like, honestly, we know as much as you do. So the fact that the own players didn't know and the managers didn't know, it's crazy, man. It just shows you it's a great thing.
James, do you think as well one of the worst things about this was the timing of it? We saw the reaction. It was so widely condemned by fans. We're all in agreement. You spoke very passionately about it there. But we're mid-pandemic, at a time when fans aren't even allowed in stadiums. Fans spend so much time, effort, and money invested in their football clubs. I've got mates that spend fortunes, season ticket holders. I've been a season ticket holder myself, and the time and effort and money that you invest in going to watch your team play. And the fact that this was done during a pandemic when some clubs were furloughing staff, when, as you quite rightly said, this is a bigger issue than football. Do you think the timing of it made it even worse?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a very clear land grab. I wonder if, the Champions League format, which I know we're going to get onto, if that was kind of part of the sort of pinch of going, right, let's go and do this now. But it was audacious. It was absolutely audacious for them to do something like that. And actually, thank goodness for social media, because without that, this would have gone through, because the public opinion that literally the entire globe had on this issue was enough to create the pressure to get this to stop. But that pressure came from social media. So we, like everything, there are good bits and bad bits to it. Social media, and there's been a lot of talk about the bad elements of it, but thank goodness social media was knocking about, because it definitely gets through. And to do it when it's a pandemic, it's so oblivious to any kind of understanding of the people involved. And I think I saw on Sky Sports, one of your reporters talking about a quote from one of the board members involved, and their own kind of safety, security and stock price was the main concern. And I think the quote was the health of the wider landscape of football is a secondary concern. And I think as a sentence, I thought that was it. Like, it was so oblivious. It blew my mind, the timing.
And you mentioned quotes, and it brings us nicely on, because I wanted to quote what some of the individuals involved in this had to say, so we can try and understand, make sense of some of these quotes, because some of these quotes I look at, and I'll read them to you, Chunkz. I want to get your thoughts on this. Florentino Perez, who we know is one of the mastermind behind the ESL, said, "Young people are no longer interested in football. They have other platforms on which to distract themselves. If young people don't watch an entire game, it's because it is not interesting enough. We will have to shorten the games." Juventus chairman Andrea Agnelli, who's another person backing the European Super League, says, simulate what young people do on digital platforms in competition like Call of Duty or Fortnite. I mean, some of these quotes are just, incredible. What do you make of these quotes, Chunkz?
Honestly, bro, it's just like a smokescreen. They don't know what I think when they were coming up with this concept, they were like, all right, this is outrage. What excuses should we have? And the fact that they came up with those two are crazy, bro. We're still watching football like we were back in days. We still enjoy it as much as we do. I feel like like I said, I'm gonna just keep repeating the fact that they just want to make more money at the end of the day. Like them saying that we want to see the bigger games. No one said that. I'm more than happy to see the Champions League yearly, and I feel like you deserve the right of watching it. Like, it's like a special time, you know what I mean? Watching the Champions League instead of just every week people come on against each other. It doesn't make sense. But yeah, for them to just come up with these quotes, what stats are back in this? Like, where is this coming from? I think they just brought these things randomly and just said, this is the reason. It's not. Just say you want more money. You know what I mean? And then talking about
you would have got more respect from that.
Yeah, I feel like you're saying, you know what? We just want a bit more money at the end of the day. But hearing about Real Madrid's finances, they're in debt for like over 400 million. Smaller Spanish teams as well. And then, we know the reason they made this, but so now coming up with these random excuses, it's poor, man. It's very poor.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I totally agree. I think we've all got an audience that's younger, haven't we, on YouTube, and we kind of understand that audience quite well. And I would say that it's actually the polar opposite. Really, I think the younger audience absolutely love the 90-minute games and all the conversation that goes around it. And this idea of trying to make it like Call of Duty and Fortnite is almost like something like you tell your granddad's heard, and like, oh, I've heard about this Call of Duty Fortnite, and it's like, what are you talking about, Ray? Just leave that alone. Leave alone what you don't know. I don't know what you think, James.
Yeah, are we just going to chuck games on TikTok now then? Is that how this is going to work? Honestly, it's laughable. It's laughable and it's so patronising to younger people. And I know, with Football Daily and with the content that I make as well on my channel, if anything, I've been able to go more into data analytics, like XG, like all those different elements of it. And younger people are so much more empathetic and switched on and intelligent about the game than these others. To chuck in Fortnite and Call of Duty in this, it's just so patronising. It is hilarious. But it's only hilarious now that it's over. It wasn't hilarious on Tuesday.
You're right.
I think that's a really good point, James. Were you, because did you think it was actually going to happen? Because Chunkz, myself and Joe were talking about this. It was huge news. We were talking about this with loads of our colleagues at Sky and Joe at Football Daily. When you heard the news, as much as we didn't want to happen, did you think this would actually happen?
I was really scared that it was going to happen because of the disregard for supporters. And I'm kind of careful. I'm starting to think about my language and how I'm talking about stuff, because Big Six, top six, I'm going to call them the six from now on. And fans, I think we need to actually call it supporters a little bit more, because I'll tell you what, as a QPR supporter, I have to support them because I'm not a fan of the football. I'm telling you, we don't do that well in the grand scheme of it all, right? So when it got to that point and there was no one else knew about it apart from these owners who just flippantly put out a statement in the sort of at, 11:30, and actually even this, it was only this morning I checked out the website. Everyone, go check out the website. It's hilarious. It's pathetic.
Horrible.
It's 2 pages where they talk about, there's a press release and the format. It's just so funny. But at the time, I thought they were so oblivious to what people felt about this. And, you know, the fact that they weren't transparent from the start, there is a reason for that. You know, why are you not being transparent? Because you're hiding something, because you know deep down this is immoral. But they didn't care. So I was really scared it was going to happen. I really thought it might happen. I didn't know. I was 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I was very worried. I mean, when the news broke, like I think it might have been just before that Manchester United Burnley game, it really put me off the football. I don't know whether you guys felt the same, but I kind of was watching the games in that period where it felt like a possibility. I'm really struggling to care about what was happening on the field. Like it for me was ruining the spectacle. Chunkz, I don't know about you, because we saw lots of fan protests as well. A lot of people outside of multiple grounds. We saw, as well as Arsenal, we saw Chelsea, we saw Tottenham, we saw Manchester United and City. Well, like, what were your
powerful
thoughts
images
watching
these
those
days,
games?
aren't they?
Were you on
Powerful images.
Were you on these guys' side?
Yeah, I know, 100%. Obviously, like I said, the fans are the main reason the clubs are even like actually functioning properly. Because without fans, what are you kind of like? You know what I mean? So it was nice to see them come out in numbers and show that, like, express their concern almost. Chelsea, I remember I think seeing Chelsea do it first, and I had a friend of mine that went up there and they said they were out there for hours. Obviously, I've had some news of people coming into training grounds, and obviously that's a bit excessive. You need to then they respect people's facilities and stuff. But in terms of like showing the actual anger for it, like, I completely agree with it. I understand where they're coming from. So yeah, it was nice. It was nice to see. It was nice to see, man.
Perez said there was 40 blokes there, like 40 people there. Like, what are you talking about, Perez? Honestly.
He's struggling, isn't he? He's struggling a little bit. You know, saving football. Football's just fine, mate. Football's absolutely fine. Your club is struggling financially, which is very clear. And that's why you're trying to push this through. I thought the protest, the big thing with the protest as well is that with the pressure that was on, you know, in all the videos that everyone was making, rightly so, because, you know, these are issues that we need to talk about. But to have that kind of visual representation of actual bodies there, and it's more than 40. It's definitely more than 40. We saw it again last night. I think it was really important just to showcase that these aren't just numbers that you can ignore. These are real people who are going to do that, and that has to continue. I think it needs to continue.
Yeah, well said. Well said, Chunkz. Well said, Joe. Well said, James. I just think that the big point I want to make is just the role the fans played in all this. I think was absolutely superb. And I think seeing so many rival fans as well from so many different teams come together in support to try and stop this, I just thought was football is nothing without fans. I just thought it was great to see.